It's kind of fun coming to church on Sunday morning. You never know what you're going to get.
That's right.
I'd like to just wish everyone a happy Independence Day. It's coming up in the middle of this next week, and unless you just happen to be in Idlewild, I will probably not see you then, so I'll just say happy 4th of July today. We get a chance to celebrate our country's freedoms. We get a chance to celebrate the privileges and the rights that we've gained from making sure that we stood up for what was right. And I know that that's one of the things that we're looking at as far as the country, because it's been an ongoing fight. So it's always been an ongoing challenge that comes from different opinions, and frankly, what we're looking for is to overcome those. And one of the things that I personally am looking to overcome is the challenges we're having in separating families. And I want our prayers to be actively engaged in making sure that the families that are now separated are joined together on a timely basis. I have my ministry was in youth work before I got this wonderful position, and frankly, that I have trouble articulating the feelings I have without going into a set of words that I tend not to use in mixed company. So anyway, I'm going to get started today's talk with it's a little story, and it has to do with a backwoodsman. He lived in the forest for many years, and what he found is that he was generating wood. He would actually, that's how he made a living. He actually would cut wood up and he would chop it and he would saw it. He finally realized, I've been doing this a really long time. I think I want to find out a better way to do this. I mean, he would cut up, and in a day's work, he might cut up 3 or 4 cords of wood. And frankly, if you've done that by hand, that's a lot of work. The thing is that he wanted to do something better, because he wanted to expand. He was in business. He wanted to make sure he had a little bit more. So he said, I've heard that there's this thing called a chainsaw, and I heard that it can actually cut up to 10 cords of wood a day. And that would really make my life a whole lot easier if I could do that much work every day. So he went down into the city, and he went down into the hardware store, and he talked to this salesman. He said, I've heard about this chainsaw thing. This is what I want. This is what I need to see, and I've heard that it'll do this much work in a day. And the salesman said, well, sure. I mean, it would do that easily. And he says, well, which one do I need? And they found the right size for what he was cutting up with the right blade and power of a saw. And so he walks back up the mountain with his saw, and he starts using it. All of a sudden, the chainsaw, it just wasn't quite cutting. It doesn't matter how much he tried to use this thing the most efficiently, the best possible way, and he still couldn't cut more than about 4 cords of wood a day. It was something, he says, this isn't any better than what I had before. So he decided, I got to take this back. I mean, this isn't right. I mean, they didn't. It's not living up to my expectations. Isn't living up to what I was sold for. So anyway, he takes it back down to the hardware store, talks to that very same salesman, and he says, oh, I don't understand. I do more than what you're doing in a day, when actually I'm doing it all day. And he says, let me take a look at it. So the backwoodsman puts the chainsaw out on the table. The guy looks at it and says, well, it looks like it's all right. Well, let's just take a look. So basically, he turns it around and pulls the string on the lever, and the backwoodsman said, "What's that noise?" He didn't start the chainsaw. That's what he didn't do. But the thing is that there's something very similar in what we learn in religious science, in learning prayer, how prayer works, how thought works. The thing is that there is a tool that's out there for us to use. There's a tool that's already in place. It's already working. The thing is, we need to learn how to work it. We need to learn how the process of this thing called mind works. We need to see where, when we have a challenge, when we have something that's standing in the way of us demonstrating our good, when we have something that's causing us pain or suffering, we need to learn how to think bigger. This is one of the ways we do this, and we think bigger through prayer, because we actually start accepting that the divine is on our side, that we actually have the ability to allow the divine moving forward into our lives. So thinking bigger really is just embracing a bigger possibility that exists. And guess what? It is already there. It's just that we haven't chosen to accept it yet, which is why we haven't demonstrated it yet. So as soon as we accept it, as soon as we truly accept it. Now, I get in trouble with this because someone says, "No, that doesn't work that way." It says, well, that's not been my experience, because what happens is that most of us have been trained from the world saying, "Gee, if you change the way you think about something, it's going to be totally different." The trouble is that you have years of experience causing lack and limitation and suffering. We've had years of opportunities for that to develop, and we've gotten good at it. The trouble is that what we have to do is we have to understand that that's not who we are. That's not our divine birthright. So when we start thinking about the positivity needing to be in place, that bigger idea, is guess what? We don't have to have that. Now that is not what the world tends to teach us, because you take a look at television and there's a lack of limitation, there's suffering, there's all sorts of things going on. You take a look at what's in the different news media, and all of a sudden all these things start telling you, well, that isn't how things are. There's all sorts of problems out there. And yeah, at the human level, there's suffering. There's suffering. Part of our job is to realize that we aren't bound by that precedent. We aren't bound by the idea that we have to always be in that suffering mode. Now, I don't care how far you get down the spiritual level. I shouldn't say that. I haven't gotten all the way down yet. But the thing is you don't always get away from it, because even though I know a lot about how this thing works, do I get to experience suffering every now and then? Yeah. It still happens. The thing is that I start recognizing it earlier than I ever used to. And I start realizing that I don't have to keep walking down this road. I realize now I'm on a detour. I am not on the main road getting where I want to go. I've taken a side road. That side road does not get me where I want to go. It leads me out into the two leaves, and frankly, I'm going to get stuck out there, and frankly, I won't ever find my way back if I don't turn around and get back on the main road. That's what we're shooting for, and that's what we talk about, that bigger idea, getting our thoughts looking toward how life is wanting to unfold for us. And that bigger idea is that revelation that we talked about in the title. Just, it's the realization that there's more to be had here. So I encourage you, today, if you don't do anything else, is have this revelation. There is more. There really is more. There's something greater than what I can actually see in front of me. Because I've seen other people be able to do that, and I'm just as smart as they are. I'm just as capable. So why isn't it showing up for me? It's just because we haven't chosen to embrace it yet. We haven't chosen to allow it to unfold through us. Regardless of the problem, be it relationships, money, health, creative expression, the answer is to think bigger. So that's how the healing, and that's what the theme of this month is revealing wholeness. But that's where the wholeness becomes reality for us, is that we've actually embraced the idea that the divine is already in place. It's already working for us. It's already created the good that we're looking for. But we have to sit there. We have to take the time and learn that God is waiting for us to say yes. God is waiting for us to have that revelation that, gee, there's more. And guess what? Once you really, really embrace the idea that there's more, then all of a sudden the doors of the divine will open up, and there it is. And to the degree that we accept it, it shows up for us. Like I said, sometimes we're bound by our limited thinking, and all of a sudden we do a little bit, we get oh yeah, that's working really good, and all of a sudden now we get distracted, because all of a sudden the divine basically has done all this wonderful work, and we see it demonstrating for us, and we realize, oh man, look how good I am, look what I did. And guess what? As soon as we try to take it back from God, we close the door. We stop it from demonstrating for us. We actually don't allow it to continue to give that flow of the demonstration that divine has for us. We actually stand in the way of our own good. So as Dr. Ralph Waldo Emerson basically tells us very succinctly, is to get your bloated nothingness out of the way. Because what happens is that because we get in the way, we stop the divine flow. If we basically just recognize what the divine flow is, recognize that it's basically we just had to say yes and then get out of the way, all of a sudden we realize, gee, it stopped. I guess I turned the faucet off, so I guess I better turn the faucet on and stand to the side so the divine can start demonstrating again. That's what we're looking to see happen. And this isn't always the easiest thing to do. It isn't, it isn't something that you hear in all of the different places of where the world wants you to work and demonstrate. It's not something you see on a regular basis unless you've practiced it, unless you've actually been part of that process and it's been part of what you need to see. Then we don't really have. We don't have spiritual muscles. And we talk about prayer a lot. I guess I better get over to the side if someone's trying to pass me. So what we're looking for is the ability to not only recognize this and actually do this, but to do it on a regular basis. Now, practice definitely is the one key thing that we need to be doing. But there's a couple other ways I can think of that we can develop our faith muscles, I guess you call it that, because frankly, there's different ways of approaching the idea. So we look at it from a different way. It's kind of like an elite athlete. And basically, when you have an elite athlete, and basically when they're done competing with their events or things like that, their seasons that they do things, but they will actually be encouraged to compete in other types of sporting events, other types of activities that will develop other muscles. Guess what that does? Is it actually rounds out the development of the body so it performs better. It actually is stronger in overall. And it increases endurance. And guess what? That increases their ability to do what they want to do, which is perform well in their event. So we actually have some other things to do. And these might work better for you. I mean, if prayer doesn't seem to be the thing that that you're having trouble with, these work just as well. I don't know if CSL wants me to tell you that, but they work just as well. The thing is that what we need to take a look at is we need to change our thinking. So how do you do that? Well, there's a couple simple ways that we do that. We do some of them here in the church. We do meditation, but affirmations, and doing that on a regular basis. If you basically plant a seed and you keep supporting, eventually it allows it to kind of become deeply ingrained and grow inside you. And all of a sudden, the changed idea is now so deeply ingrained, it's now your habit. And that habit now allows you to be the great expression of this new idea. So affirmations are a great way to do it. But meditation, basically change your mind, allowing your mind to basically touch the divine. And every time that you're touching the divine, it actually allows just a little bit more of a change, and a little bit more of a change of direction, and a little bit more of an open idea to what is out there, what's possible. So meditation is another great way to do that. And I think another way in the changing your ideas category is things like chanting. If anyone's ever done chanting, basically is saying the same thing over and over and over again. I mean, if you have heard the chant, there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. That's a chant. And you say that over and over and over again. Actually, we did that at teen camp one time, and we used that. We actually made some mala beads, and we basically did the chanting over and over again. We actually allowed people to practice that, and they did it. We did it for 7 days. We did it 70 times, which is actually one of the things that they talk about in the Bible. 7 times 70 is actually a magic combination of changing your thinking. So that's one of the things that you can do. So just get into the idea that you just change your thinking. And there's some simple ways to do that. Now that's not the only way. I mean, there's probably several things, but I'm only going to talk about a couple things here. The other thing is a creative visualization. Because basically, when you try to go within, basically, and meditation is good because it allows you to be receptive. But sometimes we just need to create a direction for where our energies are going. And what creative visualization does is actually gives us the ability to kind of direct that energy. And the great news about that is you don't have to believe in anything outside yourself. You don't have to believe in anything that's external to you for this to work. You don't even have to call it God. You just realize that you have the capability of doing this, and you do. And the thing is, you can actually start doing this creative visualization where you basically go inside and you create a goal. What is it that you want to achieve? What do you want to, what you're visualizing is what you want to see in your life. So you create a goal. And then once you've created that goal, then you create a picture, a really clear picture. An idea that basically not only has colors and detail, but feelings that surround it. And what that allows you to do is return to that over and over again. Just like in the affirmations where it basically continues to seed this back into your mind. That's what a creative visualization will do. And it gives you the opportunity to just work on more. So these are things that actually build those thought muscles so that you basically can think clearer, think more consistently, allow the divine to demonstrate within you. Now, Dr. Ernest Holmes says that there's no limitation to how we apply all this. He says that spiritual healing, now he's talking about spiritual mind treatment, but should and can be effective in every area of living. In this use, we do not need to disallow any other form of healing. So basically, the spiritual mind healing is definitely what he is focusing on. Is basically, it's kind of how the thing works. He says, he goes on to say, we don't need to disallow any other form of healing, particularly in connection with physical health. We should leave ourselves open to accept any form of healing, whether it comes from medicine, surgery, psychiatry, exercise, and diet, and if we desire it.
Chiropractic.
Okay, but the cat's out of the bag. That's what my other job is. But the good news is that properly understood. This is Dr. Holmes talking about it again. Properly understood, all are one. They all come from the same source. They're all God. So you don't have to basically worry, gee, if I take this pill, am I short-circuiting my thought process? Am I basically denying my divinity? So I take an aspirin to get rid of this headache. No. I'd say if you got a headache and it's not going away any other way, take the aspirin, but figure out what's causing the headache. Because that's how you stop needing to have things external from you, and you basically allow your internal self to continue to develop. And if we need external support, so what? Doesn't matter. The thing is, really, as long as you recognize that it is part of who you are, part of the divine process, part of the God within you expressing, and basically, if you seem to be responding to one of these or another, for some reason, you tend to resonate with that, then guess what? It's okay, because it's still God. It's all one. Dr. Holmes goes on to tell us that the greatest good, describing the greatest good, it says, no greater good can come to you than to know that the power already within you is the power to live, the power to create. But not only to create yourself, but to create for others, the power to do good, the power to heal, the power to prosper. So Dr. Holmes doesn't put any limits on how this thing works. You can apply it to any challenge that's facing you regardless. And what we're looking for is people that are willing to take the mission, take the pledge, and say, thou shalt basically realize that I am a divine process moving forward, and the divine is working with me right here, right now. Now, that sounds really simple. It sounds really basic. But it really is something that requires work, because we've developed habits around doing things kind of the wrong way, or at least not the optimal way. And what we're looking for is it something that we have that really allows us to demonstrate the highest good for ourselves? Dr. Holmes tells us we don't have to limit it. It's just because we've been conditioned, we do tend to limit it. You know something, and that's okay. I'll tell you that's it. Don't beat yourself up if you're not demonstrating everything you ever wanted to see in your life. It's okay that it's not demonstrating right now. It's okay that it's not the absolute best for you. The thing is that wherever you're at, realize there's a step that you can take and do that. I do this with people, and when I talk in classes, I say, you know, this idea called faith, the thing that makes it work. This is one of the fun things about when we talk about spiritual mind treatment. I used to teach spiritual mind treatment to teenagers at teen camp, and most of them had been exposed to it, so we talked a little bit about it, and then I'd ask one last question. I said, so we teach about a 5-step. There's actually several different ways of doing this, but we teach the 5-step treatment, which I'll talk about that maybe in another talk. But the thing is, after I go through all the 5 steps and make sure they understand what they are, I says, okay, what's the most important step? What's the most important step? That's a trick question, because it's really not one of the 5. It's just, do you believe what you just said? Do you believe in it? Do you understand that it is truly your gift and that you deserve it? Now, if you really, truly just believe that, then the demonstration is not in question. It's just divine timing more than anything. So that's what we're looking to see is, are we allowing the divine to work through us? Okay. Well, I guess I'll go ahead, and I've got a few other things I was going to talk about, but I'm going to make sure we don't take too much longer. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to end with a story that was shared with me about it was a priest, and he was visiting in the South, and he was invited to oversee a men's breakfast, and it happened to be of some farmers in the area, and the priest, when he got to the meeting, he realized that he says, well, there's some rather impressive people in here. So he actually asked this one rather impressive gentleman farmer, says, would you be gracious enough to open our meeting with a prayer? And so that was agreed to, and after everyone kind of got settled and things got quiet, the farmer started. said, Lord, I hate milk. And the priest basically was a little concerned. You can see us looking out of the corner of his eyes. Says, okay, where is this thing going? And then almost immediately, right after that, he says, Lord, I hate butter. He says, now the priest was getting overtly worried. You could see it on his face. And then the farmer just continued to pray on. Says, and Lord, I don't care much for raw white flour. And the priest was about ready to stand up and stop this. And as soon as that, just before that happened, the farmer continued. He says, but Lord, when you mix them all together and you make them up, I do love fresh biscuits. So Lord, when things come up and we don't like them, when life gets hard, when we just don't understand what you're saying to us, we just need to relax and wait. Wait until you're done mixing. And probably it'll be something better than biscuits. So as I've shared this idea that the divine is willing for things to show up, is that it doesn't always look clean and easy and things like that. But the thing is that if you hold to it, and you realize that if you've done all your work and you are certain that you are fixed on the goal that you're looking for, it may not look really appetizing as we're going through the process. Sometimes it does. I mean, when you make chocolate, I love that. That's great. The thing is that sometimes it doesn't look very good until it's done mixing. And basically things come together. Because, just recognizing that, even in the Bible, it talks to us about, it says, it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. What that means is that this divine process already works. It's already there. It's already created for you. You just have to acknowledge it. But sometimes, in order to demonstrate what you're looking for, heaven and earth have to totally transform in order for that demonstration to happen. So it might just take a moment or two. And when that happens, what you actually have the opportunity to do is hold the faith. To recognize that your faith will be rewarded if you continue to embrace the idea that the divine is conspiring in your favor. And just in case that you're thinking that it's not working, just remember that it just might be better than this.